Yeah, perfect, perfect. Let's talk about, so me personally, I used more AI in my life than in my work in the beginning. I felt it was easier to kind of like lean into it through personal stuff. Give me some examples where you guys have either yourselves or families or other people you know have used AI as a sort of entry point into that world. And we'll start with you, May.
So I'm a huge cook and a big baker. This is a true story, and I don't want to bore you, so I'll keep it to 60 seconds because I can talk about baking forever. When I moved to the UK a few years ago, the plain flour here is not the same as all-purpose flour in the US. This is a big deal. If you ever bake anything, it's a very big deal. And so I thought, oh, okay,
There are a lot of things that are different here than in the US, let's be honest.
And so until I found the baker's flour that I now order specially, I had to figure out the gluten ratios. And so AI, ChatGPT, who my GPT, her name is Sunny, she has helped me figure out, you can use bread flour and plain flour and create the same amount of gluten that you would use from all-purpose flour in the US. That's a big deal for somebody who bakes, yeah? And that is sort of an easy way to use AI when things like that are needed. Also for a sustainability. I open my cabinet sometimes and I'm like, there's nothing I can do with this. And I'll take a picture and I'll get recipes based on what I have. So
Seriously?
yeah, seriously. Some of it works out.
I'm gonna try that tonight.
This is where you need to be discerning. Some of it does not work out. Some of it works out. But again, there's so much food waste. That's a different conversation. But it helps in things like that. Should I wear a maroon belt as opposed to a brown belt? These things are really easy entry points. I had a niece, well, I have a niece. She was visiting a couple of weeks ago, and she was unfortunately a victim of cyberbullying. And this is a very real thing. And so we pulled up Sunny, and we had Sunny talk her through, this is what's happening in the world, and this is why, just keep a level head. And my 12-year-old niece, and for all of you who have kids or young people in your lives, she couldn't understand why these young girls, also 12 years old, were being so mean. Broke my heart, right? Because
And AI helped her understand that.
Yeah, that it wasn't her value. It wasn't,
Yeah.
she didn't,
Yeah.
and she understood then essentially that the world is a cruel place, something that my sister and I have tried to shield her from, but it took AI to walk her through, you're not alone. These are the percentages of young girls that go through this, and she thought, wow, this is a real thing, right?
Amazing.
One more example, I have a 90-year-old father, and AI has been hilarious with him because he tries to talk to it like it's Siri, and I say, no, you actually have to turn it on. But it's helped him a lot with learning about or remembering things, because he'll say, in 1947, who was doing this or who was doing that, and AI will know, because most of his friends at 90 years old have passed away. Or he'll say, when was this ship commissioned? Because he was in the Navy for 30 years. And AI will answer that. And to see him come alive and be able to talk about things that no one's alive to talk about anymore, it's been fantastic.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's been interesting, but it's been fantastic because he does sort of talk to it like I'm talking to you. And
That's really good.
It's amazing. And I think we should all think about, with older people in our lives or people who maybe are alone, it is a good companion, right? And he will ask, what's the name of the song? It's a song from 1950, right? AI will know, and it's been fantastic, yeah.
And you're using it with your girls quite a lot too, or encouraging them to, yeah?
Yes, so I have two daughters, they're 10 and 7. And they know mummies in technology, but they have, and that involves a lot of meetings. That's kind of all they know at this point. But I think a couple of months ago, we were sort of over breakfast, and I was like, would you like to build a video game? And they were like, oh, how do I do that? So we sat over breakfast and spent about an hour designing a couple of video games, and then we vibe coded it. So if anyone who knows what vibe coding is, essentially you talk at it and it writes the code for you. And we used ChatGPT. I said, I want to vibe code. This is the game. Write me the prompt. And it wrote me the prompt, and we chucked it into a vibe coding tool. And within a couple of hours, they each had a video game that's now online, if anyone wants to play them. And so then they both got to go off to school the next day and say, look, I built a video game in 2 hours. So now they understand. They used a couple of different AI tools for it. They are now a little obsessed with making pictures in ChatGPT. So, I'm sort of limiting how many they can do a day. but it's important for me. I want them to understand the language of technology and the language of AI, and they're thoroughly enjoying it now.
Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
Vibe coding over here, figuring out flower ratios, very different, you win.
Okay, but all those are positive, right? All those are positive examples of benefiting from AI. The other day, my son called me, my 19-year-old. He's a university student. Oh, I have the stomach ache. My stomach's been bothering me. I went to the pharmacy. They told me to buy this medication. I said, okay, when do you take it? And he said, I asked ChatGPT. And I thought, oh my God. As a mom, you have this little panic, like, how is he taking medical advice from ChatGPT? And so I think there's a dark side where people, your example from last night, or where there's potential for irresponsible use. And so talk to me, as people who work in governance, I'll pick on you, Maxine. Talk to me about responsible AI, and have you seen it misused inside your organization or inside other organizations? How do you control for that?
Well, I think we do actually have a responsible AI, and we're kind of on that journey. But I think, if you just look at all the press around mythos and what that may bring, and the doom and gloom of we're all going to have a cyber attack and get exploited around it. And it's quite interesting because, yes, on one aspect, AI is bringing a way where we can understand our new threats, our new vulnerabilities, and do things in a way that previously would have took months for somebody to be able to do, and be able to link things that look relatively less severe together to make one larger vulnerability. It is quite dangerous, but equally, there are equivalent frontier AI models that can also do the same and create defenses and find things and be able to resolve things in a way faster than we'll be able to do. And sometimes it feels like it's going to be a bit of a race against the side that could be attacking and defending. And it's something that's changing in the world, and not just only in technology, but in everything that we're doing, whether it's going to be, PR and media around the next general election we have, and everything is going to be using it. So we're just going to have to keep up with the guardrails that are in there, check and challenge it. But I think we're just finding our way at the minute. And I think, I do remember the internet arriving, which some of the people in the room wouldn't, but you didn't really know. I went to see a David Bowie thing in King's Cross, and he was saying, the internet's going to change things in ways we don't even know, for good and for bad. And I think that was in 1984 he said that. He obviously was a complete visionary. But I think we're in the same place with things that we don't even know about yet. And I think we're just going to have to lean in, embrace it, and be very flexible and adaptable as we go along.
Just to add to that, I think 2 years ago, when AI was really starting to kick off, I think a lot of customers were looking at responsible AI and building responsible AI frameworks. I think AI's moved that fast. They've all moved into these proof of concepts, which now no one's really doing proof of concept. Everyone's going straight into production. And the worry is that everyone's missed we've missed that 2 years ago. We were talking about responsible AI. Definitely feel that it's coming back on the agenda again. It's like cyber, 5 years ago, everyone would talk about it, and it wasn't ever on a board agenda, and now it is on everybody's agenda. So I think we've really got to get back into that responsible AI, and that's, also in our personal lives as well. Knowing that balance, it's a tough balance. We teach our children or whatever about, being online and cyberbullying and everything. I think we've got to be careful. So I think with our customers, it's responsible AI, and then I think in our personal lives. I mean, I have friends that, use ChatGPT to, like your point, medical prescriptions, looking up drugs, getting a diagnosis. I'm like, what? There is that balance. So we have to be really careful with that.
Can I just
Yeah, of course.
I think there's a balance between being a practitioner and being a critic of it and questioning what you get back from it, because the pro of the personalization of AI is you can get answers tailored to who you are. You give it context, it gives you contextualized answers back. But then the flip side of that, particularly as women, is it's based on data that is somewhat biased. And so, not to come back to what you said earlier, if you ask it, what should I ask as a salary, in its entire bank of salary information, women make less than men. So it will give you a lower number than if you were a man. So questioning where that context is useful and that personalization is useful, and when it is giving you an answer that you should critique or check or double check.
And I read something yesterday that said women tend to be more concerned about that bias or more conscious of that bias, both in the technology itself and for using it, right? We worry that men are going to judge us for using ChatGPT or whatever to write our posts or on LinkedIn or something like that, whereas they just go for it. They don't care. Do you guys think that's true, or is that garbage? I'm going to pick on you, May.
I think that's 100% true. I mean, let's go back to the schoolyard. Like, let's go back that far. Guys are typically taught to break things. You know, break it down, see what you can do, right? Break this technology. And women are not encouraged to do that, right? We're not. And it's just, when you look at it from that perspective, a lot of our value as women, whether it comes from other people or whether it comes from ourselves, is really in our labor and our discernment. And so the way that we approach AI is going to be very different. We're just encouraged to take a calculated risk, right? Whereas men are not. They're encouraged to sort of
take a risk.
Yeah, to take the risk.
Not so much calculated.
It doesn't have to be calculated.
Yeah. I'm looking in the audience because I feel like I should pick on some of the guys here and ask them if they think that's true. We'll get to that part of the session.
My partner's in here. He said you can pick on him.
I think there's a point. When I first started using it, if somebody was sat next to me, I'd get embarrassed that I've just asked it a question. I don't know what that was, and that was a while ago.
Yeah.
But now it's just a tool, but it was a mindset change for me that why should I be embarrassed that I've just asked ChatGPT? But I don't know, it's a really weird thing. And I look at my daughters, they're like, do you think I can ask it? I'm like, of course, it's a tool. We're great multitaskers, right? Now we've got something else to help us be even better multitaskers.
And that's the hope, right? That's the positive side. Yeah, Maxine, you were going to say something.
I wasn't, but I can.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to a point you made. I'm going to go off-piste a little bit here, but your point about 1984 and the internet, right? So I'm probably the oldest person in this room. I remember that very well. I was in university, and I got an email account. I know to the young people in the room that sounds ridiculous, but that was my first email account as I was finishing university. And I thought, oh, this is like a whole new thing I got to figure out. I was a journalist. Like, okay, I got to figure that out. And it was a lot. And then the cloud came along, and we had to kind of go through that trend. And in my industry, offshoring came along, and we had to figure out that trend. And I look at ChatGPT, and I think, oh, God, it's another, or not ChatGPT, AI. I look at AI, and I think, it's another big thing I've got to go and another big mountain to climb and learn. And there's part of me as an older person in the workforce thinking, oh, man, I just want to move to northern Scotland and raise sheep and go off the grid. Because it feels easier, right, to not have to climb that mountain. And I'm curious, do you think, it's a long lead into saying, give me some coaching here, but do you think that openness to climbing the AI mountain is an age thing, or is it a mindset thing? Like, is it easier for young people to go and do this because it's like, oh, yeah, well, here we go? Or?
I think it depends who you are. I think if you're naturally a curious person and you want to learn things and experience things, I don't think it matters what age you are. You could be your 90-year-old father. But I think it's actually about promoting that curiosity, that willingness to experiment, to demonstrate if you've got an idea, no matter what the idea is, will it work, to be able to test it. I was thinking of like a use case that I use it for, which I didn't expect, is I have an autistic child, and I have a consultant, and the consultant has a session and leaves me a very long, detailed voice memo, which I struggle to understand all of the different points. But if I put it into Gemini, this transcript, it gives me a few bullet points and actions of things that I need to do. And that has helped me so much more from doing that. But I wouldn't have thought of using it in that way. And I think it's like when you have something and you're trying to do it, it's like, how do you try and do that? Now, I do think sometimes like slightly older generation and sort of females that may not be as technology savvy already are struggling a bit, and it's about being relevant in the workforce. And I do know a couple of people like that, and I've been actually saying to them, you really need to embrace AI. If you don't, like, that's really going to impact your working. So, but I also see it in my younger children as well, who'll use it for research, but can't see the uses of it in that different way. So in answer to your question, I think it's very varied.
Mindset. It's not an age thing, it's a mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did a AI upskilling training for some of my company yesterday, and the trainer was a 62-year-old, he'll probably complain about that, 2-year-old who retired from KPMG and then discovered AI. Right? And so he's taught it to himself, and he's now training people on it. And in the room, some of the more engaged folks were the older generation, because I think if you see it as a tool and not as a crutch, as we were talking about earlier, actually, when you're in your mid-50s, anything to make life a little bit easier, a little more efficient, right? So start thinking of it in that vein, and start with it as Google on steroids, and then you learn to ask it more questions and better questions.
Yeah, I like that. Anybody, you want to jump in?
No, I think it's that curious. If you've got that growth mindset, I think you could just. Mine is a bit of FOMO. You don't want to be left out, right? And I like when on my dog walks, I like asking it random questions just to see what it pops, and then I get more in. I almost get drawn into it. It's like people have that with Instagram. I don't have that, but with sometimes I'm just constantly asking random questions, and then it takes me down. So it's that learning, it's that thirst for learning, which I think everybody has, and I think we should all have that.
Yeah. Okay. Inspiration from your dad. Yeah. I like it. So, we talk in these conversations and Empower conversations about allies. I think that's kind of a weird term, male allies. But is there a role that you guys feel men could play in helping women flip this gender bias on its head? And is there a sort of AI component to that as well? It's a complicated question. What can men do to help on this journey?
I mean, I think we've all seen some of the fear around women and using AI is, we get judged more harshly on it. I think there's a Harvard Business Review study about it. So therefore, women don't use AI as much as men, right? This is I think, 22% to like 35% of people. So almost regardless of gender, if you are a manager, you should be thinking about how your team is using it, measuring it, right? We measure adoption for everything else. How do you perceive the feedback that you're getting, the work output that you're getting from them, and does it vary if they've used AI or not, and does it vary by gender as well? Encouraging teammates to use it, encouraging women to be at the table when those AI conversations are happening. Like if you're a woman in an organization running an AI pilot, you should be on it, right? Like you should be participating in it, or make sure that there are women in it.
How many, just curious, show of hands in the audience, how many of you are on some sort of AI pilot group in your organization? Not that many. I'd like say 10%. Interesting. And how many use it every day? Okay. Interesting. We're going to take.
Salesforce puts their hand up, that's an issue.
Sorry.
I said if none of the Salesforce team put their hand up, we've got a problem, massive one.
We are going to take, just to prep the team, we're going to take some questions from the audience in just a second. But I have a couple more. Actually, give me, anybody else got a male ally suggestion? Anybody want to offer anything?
I think it's just, I'm looking at you, Christian, because we did a spotlight on our team a while ago of asking the teams what tools they're using and share. It's more collaboration, right? And I then learn from people in the team. So some of the tools that you were using, we just did like a quick spotlight across the team. I was like, oh my gosh, how, you know, where I think it's that collaboration and sharing more. We don't do that enough. So, you know, I've learned a lot from my team doing that, and I think we need to do more of it.
Yeah. I have 3 teenage boys, and I think for me, I know that in and of itself is kind of just chaos. But I really, this summer, put a challenge to myself to make it part of our day-to-day. How do we kind of industrialize it as a practice in our home, to think about how we could manage our lives better collectively, right? It's a simple beginning, but to just make it part of the conversation and normalize it, instead of making it, and I think you guys have all given us examples of where you're normalizing it. One thing I've read is, and again, Nidhi, I'll come back to you on this one. I've read that the first bias that keeps women out of tech is that becoming a developer, a coder, is a male thing. So if AI helps us sort of code differently, vibe code, whatever, does it make it automatically, for a young person entering a career, does it make them more open, young women more open to it, to entering tech as a career, because they don't have to become a coder sitting in a dark room?
I actually think in the last 10 years, we've seen quite a shift with organizations like Girls Who Code and Women Who Code. I'm seeing a lot more young female developers coming through the ranks, which is great. There's I think also a shift at the slightly younger age to say, listen, you can create these outputs yourself. Like, you can build things for yourself, right? Whether it's a productivity tool of some kind, a travel app, a game, whatever it is. My kids play video games on their iPads all the time, but they don't think of themselves as gamers. I was like, what is Roblox? If not just sitting there playing games all day. So I think it can help shift the mindset that these outputs are within your control, and it doesn't have to be the super technical thing that you have to sit there and write code anymore. I mean, there's a real question of the future of developers, right, with some of the coding tools, and how that skill set is shifting as well to more quality assurance than actually the writing of code. And I think, like, I mean, I sort of fell sideways into technology. I don't have a degree, but so many women I know and so many young girls I know just naturally think that way. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely.
I think it changes things, but I don't think that message has been received yet. Because I think there is, we've spent so many years doing like hackathons and girls that can code, and really now what we should be thinking about is, here's a problem. It needs solving. Oh, and by the way, we need to write some code, but that's easy because that's here. Yeah. If you framed it a different way and make it less about the coding, I think a lot more people would be able to adapt to it. But I don't think people have caught up with the fact that we're actually in that position. And I think it comes back to education and educating people early on, because there's still that stigma that you're typing in your hashes and your dollar signs and whatever and being completely geeky, which I can do, but even now I don't know how to do it. But you don't need to do that anymore. But you do still need to solve problems, and that's how we should frame it.
Yeah. Questions from the audience? Anyone got a question out there? Please. Can we? Yeah, thank you.
I actually have 2 questions. One is how, we spoke a lot today, and advantage and where we should be wary about. But where is the point where, you're learning from AI versus you're too dependent on it, almost that your cognitive thinking stops?
Yeah.
That's one question.
I worry about this with my kids a lot.
Yeah,
What's the line? Is there, and how do you know when you've crossed it? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the subject, right? To what we were talking about earlier around medical advice, I think we have to be incredibly discerning straight out of the gate when it comes to something like that, right? Have it give us ideas to ask our doctors questions. Don't take medical advice, right? It can't tell you what medicines to take and when to take. If you're talking about in your job, in your day-to-day, I think when I think you have to draw that line. You have to say, wait a minute, this is completely different from how I would do it. Is this an improvement, right? Is this increasing my efficiency? Is this streamlining and allowing me to do other tasks, or is this doing it for me? And I think only you can answer that question.
I think, sorry, I used to worry about spell check for exactly that, which sounds really basic, but you know, you write your email and then I'm like, oh, better spell check, which then I'd be like, well, you know, otherwise it's taking it away, another task taken away. So similar, you know, sometimes when I get an email formatted, in my head the other day I was thinking, I shouldn't really be doing this because then I'm not using my brain enough. So there's a real balance. I totally get that, like where you're coming from on that. And especially, again, like you said, with children, it's just use it for research, but I think that's being picked up now across schools and universities, right? But there is that balance. We have to be careful with that. But we need to use our brains.
I think AI does not replace judgment. It does the work. It doesn't, even on spell check, when you click on it, it might give you 3 options.
Yeah,
You choose. You choose which spelling you want, right? It doesn't replace judgment.
But I think what's also important is while we are talking about the positives and encouraging AI, we also need to say things like this, you know, like what we spoke about. I think another question I do have is, how do we stop misinformation? And this is not just women, this is for everybody. Like elections, for example, you know, people can, or climate change, people can completely turn a blind eye and use AI to really change the thinking. I mean,
I'd be curious what you guys do on, when my younger 2 teenage boys started using the internet, they would like tell me these things that they found. Oh yeah, I Googled that, and I would say, oh my God. And I had to teach them how to research responsibly. I feel like the problem just exploded with AI because it's like that much harder to fight the oh well, I just got the, you know. How do you guys fight that battle of sort of bias, but also misinformation?
It's not new to AI, right? Misinformation has always been around. Critical thinking, I mean, question everything you see. My kids, when I see something that's AI generated, I'm probably likely to be slightly like, it's AI generated. My kids are like, oh cool, it's AI generated. I can make a dog do anything, right? It's like, it's not real. It's like, I don't care that it's not real. It's funny, right? But what I'm trying to teach them is, well, identify and just file away in your head that was AI generated. So you start to at least be able to discern what's real versus not real. So when you're old enough to start making critical decisions around what you're seeing and hearing, you've built the muscle of identifying what's real versus what's not real.
I almost pulled that away as a theme of this sort of idea that it's a great tool, but you can't let go of critical thinking. Right? I think that's what I'm hearing from you guys. I think we got one more question from the room, and then I got a last question for the pass it back.
Hello, good morning. Firstly, thank you very much. It is really, really nice to hear and speak to all of you, especially all of the ladies. And thanks for making it personable and bringing your children into it. To me, that really resonated, so I appreciate that. My question is, to empower her to empower us, should we implore our platform owners to do more to remove the gender neutrality. It needs to be gender neutral from the start at the top. So all of our LLMs can do what they do best, and we actually take the her and him out of it, and it just be us.
Well, that would be an ideal, wouldn't it? Is that possible?
How do we do it? How do we influence? How do we help? How do we do it?
And the answer is yes.
I know, but like,
how?
How?
How is the question?
How do we do it? You know, how do we do grassroots? How do we kind of bring it up to the men in suits that own these tools to make it more ethical for
I don't think they wear suits anymore.
But you know what
they
I mean,
wear like
sorry.
T-shirts and stuff. So I'll tie that into my last question, because I think it comes back to this idea that EmpowHER, our series, is meant to be actionable. Right? So if we're to come back together 6 months from now, what's like the one piece of advice, and I'm going to ask that of all 4 of you, so be ready. What's the one piece of advice you'd give us to drive some kind of shift between now and then? From the top, from the bottom, from the middle, I don't care, but something we could all go do. going to start with May.
Is this regarding AI?
Yeah, or not, but shifting, Empower is about shifting the gender bias, right? Rebalancing the workforce.
So let me answer this in two parts. Regarding AI, I would challenge every single person in this room to use it in a way you're not using it now, right? Use it in a way that maybe scares you a little bit, or that you're not familiar with, or I don't know how to do this. You know, I don't know how to make Claude work for me. Try it. Just try it, right? Challenge it. Figure it out. Challenge yourself, and then figure out if this is the path you want to go on. I would challenge you to use it in a different way. In general, for your career, what I think is pinpoint where you want to be in 6 months, what life you want to have, where you want to be in your career 6 months or a year from now, and take one step toward that, right? And that's what I challenge everyone to. It seems so simple, right? But think about a time when you wanted something, you had a goal, and you just didn't move on it, and you thought, oh, yeah, I could have done that. Take one step, and I promise you, you'll get the momentum you need, and you'll say, okay, I'm going to keep going, or this is not the route for me, and both are equally as important.
So in November, we'll all have tried one other way. I like that. I like that. Needy, what's your advice?
As women, talk to each other about AI.
Yeah.
We don't do that. I mean, one of the conversations I was having last night was someone saying, I'm friends with some just kick-ass women, but we don't talk about our careers unless we need advice. We don't talk about the good. We don't talk about the, like, how are you using AI in your world, right? Have those conversations. Encourage people to use it, right? We all have groups of women who get together, and how much do we ever talk about AI?
Yeah.
So have that. In terms of the men in suits, because my execs do wear suits, I like to, every time I present to them, I start with something AI generated. So whether it's an earthquake hitting their partner meeting video, or, you know, I had someone being helicoptered out at the end of a rope because he'd had enough. And so just educating them so that the decisions that they are making, even if they are not practitioners, are based in some kind of information.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to go back to think about every day a problem that you may have, whether it's small, whether it's big, and make it actionable, that you will try and find a way around it using one of your AI tools. And I think if you start to think about it as a problem solver, it really helps you sort of speed things up, make you more efficient, and you just learn from doing that. And you also get your sort of reward when it does actually work, or you get a learning piece if it's something not to try again.
Yes, for me it's basic in terms of similar themes. You know, just be curious, like maybe try it. To your point, there are a lot of people that actually are not using it, which is concerning. And I think it's just try it in your personal life, and then also in, you know, at work as well. I mean, I think it's just have that thirst for learning and just keep asking it random questions, or, you know, try something new. And I do think there is more about asking, you know, your peers, friends, or whatever, what they're doing. I think it's learning and asking those questions.
Yeah. Having the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point on I was at an event last week, a Salesforce event. We had one of the founders of Anthropic. I mean, he was fascinating. He's from the UK. But it never gets talked about at all. It's always about the future, never about what are we doing of some of the things that we're seeing or the challenges we're seeing. So it's a really good point. Makes us think, you know, what we should be doing. So great question, but sorry I couldn't answer it.
Okay.
Couldn't solve it.
We should all try.
Amazing.
The 1%.
So we are overtime officially. Before I let you go, please network and have a coffee and so forth. But I need to do a few. We'll skip the video. I don't want to try it again. It'll kill the mood. But first of all, I want to thank all of you. So thank you, Carmina, Maxine, Needy, May. Thank you for making the time to come here and talk openly with us today. Thank you to Salesforce for the space, of course. Thank you to all of you for making the time this morning. And a special thank you to Vitor, Joao. Where's the rest of the... You guys were amazing to put this together, Rach. Thank you guys for making this happen. And thanks for keeping the conversation going as you leave and in the coming weeks. If we come back in November, let's all have taken the advice, eh? All right. Thanks, guys. Can we move? Can we go? Okay. Whew, thank you.
Who's got the golden ticket? That's what I want to know.
It goes fast. Thank you.